Lockdown, lockdown. This is an emergency alert. Please follow lockdown procedures. Go into the nearest room or building, lock the door, and turn off all lights. Wait for the all clear from school officials or local authorities. Lockdown, lockdown.
Growing up in a tiny community like mine, you hear about all this crazy stuff on the news, these massacres and tragedies day after day, but you think that'll never happen here. A day came that not one of us will ever forget. I was in school watching the minutes go by, waiting until I could finally go home. I excused myself from class to go to the bathroom, but I didn't really have to go. I just wanted to look at my phone for a few minutes without the risk of it getting confiscated. Luckily, the girls' room was completely empty. I took the stall, second from the end. While scrolling through Snapchat, I tapped through a bunch of people's stories, but one person had quite a few more posts than anybody else. They were absent that day, and whenever they stayed home from school, which was quite often, they always did a bunch of schizo posting. Growing up, their name was Jessie, until they came out as transgender and started going by the name Jennifer. I changed their name on Snapchat, but otherwise, I didn't really care. I wasn't friends with them, just acquaintances because everybody knew everybody. What matters is, completely regardless of their gender, Jennifer was a nutcase. They were crazy before transitioning, and they were just as unpopular afterwards. After being on my phone for a few minutes, I decided to finish up before my teacher got suspicious. Just as I was starting to finally piss, someone walked into the bathroom. I couldn't tell if they were a teacher or a student. They were being oddly quiet. It sounded like they went into a stall, but I didn't hear it close or anything like that. Of course, I had no reason to be overly cautious, so I wrapped up and exited the stall. Right as I walked out of it, a loud sound started reverberating through the bathroom. Someone had started pissing. Then I took another couple steps and passed by a stall I thought was empty, but even though the door was open, it was absolutely occupied. I saw none other than Jennifer, pissing while standing up in full view. It took everything I had to not stop and stare in shock. I forced myself to continue to the sink and wash my hands. Jennifer had enough time to finish her business at the toilet and started washing her hands in the sink next to mine. That's when I saw the blood, a shocking amount of it, all over her. My hands froze under the tap. It didn't take long for Jennifer to catch me staring either. She then looked directly in my eye, a sickening smirk on her face. I couldn't tell what was going through her head. When Jennifer turned off the faucet, she also reached over to shut off my sink as well. This action brought her close to my face, close enough for me to smell the pungent sweat in her pits. That, and the distinct metallic stench of blood. It wasn't paint, and she hadn't gotten all of it off yet. When she whispered to me, I knew there was no right answer. Every word was sealing my fate.
What are you staring at, princess?
Nothing. I don't have a problem with you being in here, I swear.
Really? Don't tell me you're not used to the sight of blood.
It's not that. I'm not used to people using the bathroom with the door open. That's all.
Did I forget to close it? Man, my bad. I was just practicing my aim. How would you like to help me with target practice?
A chill ran through my whole body. Regardless of what she meant, I wasn't sticking around to find out. I immediately turned around and ran. I sprinted down the hallway, not looking back until I was at the stairwell. My plan was to just make sure that she didn't follow me back to my class, maybe double back across the second floor. But then, I saw her, not running, but just then exiting the bathroom. She looked at me across the distance with a look on her face I'll never forget. Then, she crossed the hall and entered the classroom I came from. A moment later, the shots started. I was no hero. Any chance I might have had to warn people was long gone, and doing so might have gotten me killed anyway. I saw my exit, and I took it. By the time the massacre was over, she had killed 8 people. The first 2 were at her house. The blood I saw her washing from her hands belonged to them. Then, she came to school and killed 6 more before taking the easy way out. Like a coward, she made sure she would never stand trial, never face justice for what she did, if she even had any. All we know is that our town will never be the same, and I can't stop thinking about how close I came to being one of her victims. This story was inspired by a horrific incident regarding a teenage suspect involved in a mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge. Police say the 18-year-old suspect was Jesse Van Rootseller, who was found dead on the scene, took out 8 people, and then doing the unthinkable to themselves. The suspect had been the subject of a number of police visits in recent years because of mental health issues and used to have a firearms license. It is unclear who owned the firearms used in the attack or what the motive was. 5 students and a teacher were taken out, and at least 25 others were injured at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. 2 others, the suspect's mother and stepbrother, were found dead at a nearby home when the attack began. Van Rootseller was born a biological male, but identified as a female. A 2021 Facebook post from the suspect's mother, Jennifer Strang, described how the teenager was infatuated with firearms.
Lockdown. This is an emergency alert. Please follow lockdown procedures. Go into the nearest room or building.
As a school resource officer, I'm tasked with maintaining order in an active community of nearly 1,000 students. Recently, a case of bullying has become of particular interest. For one reason or another, got a target painted on his back. He's been picked on and humiliated by dozens of different students through various means and over an extended period of time. He's never fought back. They take his kindness for weakness and abuse it. Unfortunately, almost everything I've tried to do to remedy the situation before it went critical ended up in a terrible feedback loop. All the offending students I punished simply fed into an intensified hatred of Ivan. With little other option, I've resorted to just protecting Ivan the best I can. One day, Ivan just snapped. It was quiet that day. It must have been around 1 o'clock. Suddenly, my radio crackled, and a panicked voice shattered the quiet.
Barnes, hurry! Get to building!
The lockdown alarm rang. I tried to turn up my radio and ask them to repeat, but it was too late. The sounds of panic fleeing and screaming were pouring in from the hall, and whoever that teacher was, their hands were way too full to get back to me. I couldn't hear the location, but the voice sounded familiar. I decided to make my way to that teacher's classroom on the other side of campus. As I stepped out of the break room, I entered the hallway in the last moments of the scramble for cover. Everyone was following the drills, but under the ensuing radio silence, I couldn't get any more information. Quickly, I hustled across the school, my weapon already drawn. Moment by moment, I cleared section after section. I knew reinforcements would be on their way, but they would be waiting on my call to enter the building. There was a chance that going in too brashly would lead to more panic and further casualties. It was up to me, but it was so damn quiet. My ears were ringing, my heart pounding in my head. It had been years since I felt the pressure of this on. But why? For all I knew, this was a false alarm. But something in my gut said otherwise, ripping me right out of my head. I rounded a corner and saw it. There was a student at the far end of the hall. They had a knife in their hand. They were covered in blood, and they were facing me, alone, as if they heard me coming. Instantly, my arms rose up to point my gun downrange at the target. My finger touched the trigger, but then I stopped. I lowered my gun. It was Ivan. The look on his face was haunting. The only person he had hurt so far was himself. His forearms were gashed right down the middle. I started moving forward. This alarmed Ivan, prompting him to raise the knife at me and start spewing his threats.
Stay away from me! I'll kill you too!
Take it easy, Ivan. It's just me. We're friends, remember? I'm not gonna hurt you.
Don't call me that! You're not my friend! You don't give a shit about me!
Come on, Ivan. You know that's not true. I've always looked out for you. I'm sorry about whatever happened.
Then prove it! Drop your gun! Do it now!
All right, I'm dropping my gun. After closing in about 20 feet, I stopped momentarily to take a knee and place my gun on the ground. Then I kept going. I could see from this distance that Ivan was shaking. You see, I did it. Now it's your turn. Put down the knife, Ivan.
Now!
We can work this out, Ivan, but only if we're both unarmed, okay?
You're lying! You just want to put me in prison!
You won't go to jail, not unless you hurt someone. We can take you to some place to get help.
I don't want their help!
In a split second, one of my worst fears became reality. Ivan put the blade to his throat, with nobody else around to threaten. He thought this was his only leverage, but I still took a chance. I was so close. As soon as I saw him hesitate, I pushed forward.
Stay back! I'll do it! This is on you!
I know you don't want to do that, Ivan. Just give me the knife.
Stay away! Ivan, please!
Out of nowhere, the knife came back toward me. Time froze, and the next moment I remember, I had Ivan's wrist in my hand, nearly crushing it, holding back the knife just inches from my neck. Had he been any stronger, had I been any slower, a very different sight might have been my last. However, in that moment, Ivan knew he had no other path forward but to comply. With my free hand, I wrenched the knife from his grasp. He offered no resistance to it. His body went limp, barely standing. I tossed the knife behind my back and put my arm around under his shoulders to support him before he fell. The blood loss, the adrenaline, the extreme emotions, all of it took a toll on him. With Ivan finally restrained, I arrested him under the Baker Act, giving him a bit of grace from criminal charges. He's been out of school for a while now, recovering in a mental health facility I won't disclose. I hope he's doing better now, because I'll never forget the moment he almost threw his life away. Rockville High School was briefly locked down and a classroom was evacuated, as a school resource officer convinced a student to turn over the small pocket knife he had. School staff alerted the school resource officer at 1:35 p.m., and staff members were able to quickly evacuate the other students from the classroom. According to police, the student had some cuts on his arms, and the school resource officer convinced him to turn over the knife peacefully after about 30 minutes. The school lockdown lasted for around 10 minutes. An ambulance brought the student to a local hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. Police are investigating, and no charges have been filed at this time.
Lockdown, lockdown. This is an emergency alert. Please follow lockdown procedures. Go into the nearest room or building.
I don't have a lot of friends at school. One of the few friends I have, this kid named Zach, he's a full-blown incel. Kids either bully him or go out of their way to avoid him. Unlike me, he's just too weird and creepy to fade into the background. He basically came up to me and decided we were going to be friends on the first day of freshman year, and ever since then, I've just had to tolerate him. I always joke with my friends online that I only keep him around because if I'm his friend, he might warn me not to come to school the next day in case the bullying finally makes him snap. One day, that joke became a reality. There was no warning, no signs of declining mental state. I was probably the first person at school to get any indication that Zach was up to something. It started out like any other day. I had just got off the bus, and I was waiting to get breakfast in the cafeteria, when Zach suddenly pulled me out of the line to tell me something. He was wearing the same clothes he always did, his worn-out backpack clinched all the way up to his shoulders, but something else was there too. He had a new, different bag slung under his arm. It was black and sturdy, but too small to fit a laptop or even a regular-sized notebook. I didn't have to bring it up either, because it was all he wanted to talk about.
Dude, you're gonna make me miss breakfast. What do you want?
Shh, just be quiet and take this. I need you to keep it a secret for me.
Your brand new bag? Wait, did you steal it?
No, it's mine. I just have to get rid of it for a bit.
Well, what's in it? It's a camera, a really expensive one. So promise me you won't open it. And you brought it to school, why?
Look, I was just trying to take pictures of some girls for, but then a couple of guys saw me and now they want to smash my camera and kick my ass.
Huh, sounds like you deserve it, you creep.
Shit! I gotta run. Take this and don't look in it.
As fast as he appeared, Zach shoved the bags into his hands and bolted. I looked around for that group of angry guys chasing after him, but I didn't see anyone except the people in line who had witnessed our entire interaction. Not sure what else to do, I put the bag over my shoulder and went to the back of the line. As I waited, I started to feel how heavy it was from the strain on my shoulder. I got breakfast, then went to class, trying to ignore the extra weight I was carrying. Minute after minute, it was all I thought about, until I finally couldn't resist the urge any longer. In the middle of class, I slowly and quietly opened the zipper by a few inches, then looked inside. My worst nightmare came true right in front of my eyes. There was a gun in the bag. Immediately, my skin felt like it was on fire, and I started sweating profusely. I was afraid if I bumped the bag the wrong way, the thing inside might randomly go off. After 20 more agonizing minutes, that class period ended, and I had my chance. On the way to my next class, I walked by a bush and placed the bag behind it as discreetly as I could. I planned to tell Zach where I stashed it. A few hours later, school was almost over. Once I left, I'd be home free, but the school had other plans. Suddenly, someone got on the intercom and said the school was in lockdown. I started freaking out all over again. I couldn't tell anyone. I couldn't let anyone know. I had to keep quiet and follow instructions. The teacher locked the door, turned out the lights, then directed us all under our desks. We hid there, as many kids whispered and wondered if our school was next in the string of recent shootings. Meanwhile, I was silently terrified that someone had found the bag and was using the gun inside the school. As we began to hear screaming in the halls, the mood shifted. We all still hoped it was just some stupid kids playing a crude joke, but it seemed like blood was really being spilled out there. Then, after almost an hour, the lockdown was lifted. Despite how grim things seemed, nothing bad had actually happened. I left the class with everyone a few minutes later. Then I started making my way to the buses. And yeah, just before I was able to step onto the bus, 2 police officers stopped me and told me to come with them. They led me to the principal's office, where a dozen other cops and school administrators were waiting for me. Just my luck, someone had found the bag, and I was right there on camera, stashing it. I flipped on Zach instantly, not caring about him at all, just wanting him to take the blame for the shit he dragged me into. Of course, even though Zach got arrested for bringing the gun, I couldn't avoid getting taken into custody either. I'm in nearly as much trouble as him for knowing about it and not reporting it. All this time, I was friends with Zach as a safety measure, just for him to ruin my life. This school lockdown story was inspired by an incident involving 2 students who have been charged following a weapons call that forced the lockdown of 3 Port Colborne, Ontario schools. Niagara police say Port Colborne High, Still Street, and McKay Public were placed into hold and secure protocol amid reports of a student with a firearm. Investigators say a gun wasn't located inside Port Colborne High, near Still High, and Elkin Street after a thorough search with the K-9 unit. However, one would be seized at a location outside the learning facility. There were no injuries in the incident, and students were sent home early. The 2 students are facing charges connected with possessing a firearm. One of the teens has an additional charge for careless use of a firearm.